Live, and we're live, guys and gals. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Doesn't feel like Friday for some reason, but it's Friday. And hopefully you're watching somewhere nice, somewhere pleasant, somewhere cozy, maybe at the site. Hopefully it's all of those things for you. We've got Dr. Daniel Fox. This man really needs no introduction, but he's more than just a great podcast host and a great co-host for Brad mainly and myself here and there. And he's been running point guard on SOS conference, CRPN, so many things. Land of Link, he's got a startup research company. He goes on other people's webinars, like, he does the things like sacrifices that we should be doing. But thank you, Dr. Fox, for doing it for us, man,
No
for
problem.
SOS conference.
Happy to help.
And he wrote this book. This is what we're going to focus on today because a lot of you guys know Dr. Fox, but you don't know his career. So he wrote this book, Live Like a Career Cowboy, How to Successfully Navigate the Great Professional Frontier. Here's proof that he wrote it. A younger Dr. Fox, beardless.
Beardless.
Beardless Dr.
Back
Fox.
in the day, man.
Baby Fox right there. So Dr. Fox, I'm going to hold this book up a lot. Why did you write this? I feel like your career somewhat tumultuous, maybe in our industry.
It was tricky. Yeah. So we're gonna have to go back a little bit. I don't want to go all the way back, but I just graduated from my postdoc, and I gave up my academic career to go into industry. I took on a job as a general manager of a pharmaceutical company. I uprooted my family. We moved all the way from the Midwest to New Jersey, and we started a new life. And I was the program manager of a small biotech. I was writing the patents. I was doing all the CMC. I was doing everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Even I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So you worked at the small sponsor level.
Yeah. It was startup.
Wow.
A garage and 2 ideas and a patent, and that's about where we
Whose
started.
idea? Were there like a scientist involved, or you were involved in the IP?
It was the technology from my postdoc, all of that hearing protection.
Your own postdoc.
Mm-hmm. So I converted my postdoc into a general manager position at a small biotech where we were going to translate this technology because we had it. I mean, we were auditing military sites. We had a clinical trial going. We had it all going as a phase 3 trial. So
Can you talk a little about what it was, the technology?
Well, yeah, probably by now, but it was an antioxidant based technology designed to protect hearing from hearing insults, meaning like noise, obviously with the military, but also like cisplatin, like chemotherapy. I mean, it tears up your ears, and so do aminoglycosides, really nasty antibiotics designed for like cystic fibrosis and a lot of the things like that. I know a lot of people, even some med school students we used to work with gentamicin poisoning, they lost hearing in their ear.
For tinnitus too? Did it have applications for tinnitus?
Yep.
I know a bunch of construction workers.
A lot of tinnitus.
Lifetime construction worker guys that have tinnitus and no treatments for it.
Yeah. So imagine a future where you're like, oh crap, I was just exposed to nasty noise, whether it's the loudest concert ever or gunfire or fireworks or explosion. Imagine a world where you could literally take a supplement and protect your hearing long term.
So like prophylaxis.
Yeah, prophylaxis or rescue. It could be
or rescue.
Yeah, could have been either.
Interesting.
And it was working. It was doing well. There were some translational challenges that we ran into, and the company folded. They just, we're done. We're not doing this. It was literally the first day Bree, my wife, was in New Jersey with me. We just spent the whole weekend and Labor Day moving from Illinois to New Jersey. I just went to work, and the meeting at work, I had to come home first day she was at the house in New Jersey. I had to come home and say, the company's closing. I'm sorry. We already sold the house. We already uprooted. She already quit her job.
You guys have kids yet at this point?
We had both of them. Yeah.
Wow.
We had 2 kids. One was young. We didn't know she was sick yet. We didn't know she had that. She's too small. But the other one, she was like 3. And so here you are. Here I am, a scientist who literally just gave up everything for this dream, and then this dream just evaporated in front of me.
Wow.
And I'm faced with this problem. And so that's kind of where it began, because then it's like, okay, got to hit the job market. I got to take care of my family. I've got to do
So you
this.
were always like entrepreneur minded, and
Yeah.
then when that kind of the first time it failed, you're like, all right, I got to get practical. I got a family. I just
Got
uprooted
to
my
do
family. I
this.
can't do two failures in a row right
I
now. I
can't
gotta.
afford another move back home. So that's even worse, because
So
now
the
you feel
seeds for this
trapped.
book started getting planted.
Yep. That's
Did you
where it
find it
started.
harder? Because I've never, thank God, had to navigate career. Like I've always worked for myself, but like I feel like because I know when I interview people
Mm-hmm.
and there's somebody who has a small business, I kind of think, all right, well, I know what entrepreneurs are like. I don't know if I necessarily want them to work for me because they lose interest quick and move on, or they get an idea and then go do something else. Did you have a hard time getting a job after working for yourself?
Yeah. So, well, and that's so the reason why I brought up New Jersey. It was literally one of the lowest points of my life,
Mm.
where I was dependent on this technology. I was doing all of this. I had some decent experience, but I could not get a job. I
Okay,
applied,
just to give us
and
a framework for what year was this?
20 oh, Trump was just elected, if that helps.
Wow, not that long ago,
I remember we were in
Dr.
New
Fox.
Jersey. We were in New Jersey. We woke up the morning that Trump was elected, and I remember that day. So, as
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so if it puts that into perspective, so
Yeah.
that was New Jersey. That was terrible. 6 months, nothing. I made my own board game during that time
So you
because
didn't decide to move back Midwest. You say, you
we
know what?
couldn't.
We moved here. Let's just stay here.
We couldn't afford to move back. We didn't have the money,
I
and we didn't
see.
have a house. We didn't have anywhere to go.
But you were in like kind of big pharma land, New
Exactly.
Jersey.
So one of the things I found was in the late 90s, the big pharma groups, especially in that New Jersey corridor, laid off everyone. They downsized, they stopped making things internal, and they started hiring everyone as needed as consultants, which means it was really saturated for biotech, but it was so saturated with a bunch of consultants that were really experienced. There was no way you could get in the industry there. No way.
Wow.
So what happened was, okay, not New Jersey, so let's just start expanding and expanding. We started expanding our search, and the frustrated scientist in me said, "You know what? This is ridiculous. It's like I feel like I've been thrown into the deep end. There's no help. There's nothing here to take care of us. It's like
Did you have a LinkedIn or were you networking then?
I had a LinkedIn. I didn't really push it a
Because
lot.
now you're Mr. Networker,
Oh
man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, you learn your lessons, man. That's what keeps you
so were
going.
you not like your networking muscle was weak back then, or?
I had some connections from there, but it wasn't nearly as front facing as I am now. But I was actually in that position where it was like the shotgun applications, apply, apply. You remember that podcast we are talking about? I
Yep,
was
yep.
there.
Spray and
And then,
spray.
yeah, yeah. And then it was like everything was a rejection. It just felt like I was wasting my time. And there were some points, there were some
What kind
really
of
low
jobs were you
points.
applying for though? Were you like applying over your like were you punching up or were you punching down or just all over the
I was
place?
just trying to find equivalent. I had to at least have something to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I had postdoc general manager project management experience. That's where I was targeting. And I was
Mhm.
diversifying a little bit, going into technical writing and regulatory and just trying
I
to
see.
find a branch that I could get somewhere.
And you had a PhD at this point
Yeah.
too. So
Oh
you
yeah.
had the whole like
I had the
am I
PhD.
overqualified thing, right?
Yep.
Like did you
And
apply
you
as
run into that.
coordinator?
You run into that. We don't want to hire a PhD because you're just going to quit in 6 months.
Right.
That
I was going to
was
say
yeah.
like coordinator, right? Like
Yep.
I would ask that too if I were an employer and I didn't know you. Hey, it's great you have a PhD. We could use a rater, but like, how long you plan to be here?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna pay you. We're gonna like escalate your payment quick, but we're still a small site. Like we can't afford PhD right now. If you grow with us, maybe. But did you run into that a lot, or
Mm-hmm.
you didn't really go at the
Yeah.
site level?
Yeah. I call it the invisible carrot. And it's pretty much just, hey, make some sacrifice, be with us a little bit, and then you might get paid what you're worth eventually.
Right, right.
Uh,
And in fairness to the site, a lot of them do try, like, but it's just
They
it
do.
takes a while to get
They do.
revenue going at
And
a
then it's
site.
like I'm living in New Jersey. I have a wife with 2 kids. Wife's unemployed. Then I have to make enough money to make the family. How can I come up to an employer and expect them to take care of my family? No,
And the cost of
that's
living is not exactly cheap in Jersey compared to
no,
Midwest.
no. We're about 90 minutes out from New York City, so like where a lot of the
Ah,
rich people who work in New York City, that's where they live. So like there was a lot of money there, and it was hard.
man.
It was hard. So what ended up happening was it took me 6 months. We had some passion projects. We did a Christmas board game. We did all that. But finally, I finally got a job. Finally, in California.
How long did this take? How long did it?
They let me go in September of was it 2017 maybe, and then I got the job. I started in California in the beginning of January. It was a really rough fall.
Wow.
It was a really humbling fall. And I have to say, shout out to the New Jersey folks. There were some major community efforts in New Jersey to take care of people who were in trouble. There were a lot of people who were losing their jobs at that time, and they had a really good infrastructure, a community infrastructure, nonprofit. They took care of us. That was probably one of the most humbling Christmases I remember because, like, people, you got a guy who lost his job, a wife with 2 kids. One kid is probably not doing very well. There were people who took care of us. And I'll never forget the kindness that was given to us at that point. It was amazing.
Mm.
So,
That is that why you're like so passionate? Each time we talk privately, you bring up a lot nonprofits and things
mhm,
like that. It must have had a lot to do with it.
yeah, it did. It's amazing what nonprofits are doing right now for our community. And I don't think some of our community realizes what would be falling through the cracks if it weren't for the nonprofits. It's amazing how many people are getting helped.
So California called cross country. What job
California
was it?
called. It was a project manager at Catalent. Catalent, the
Catalent,
Catalent.
the
Yeah.
logistics company that does
Well,
IP
Catalent is
shipment
like
and all that stuff.
straight up manufacturing. We made the tablets and the capsules and shipped
Yep.
them to the clinical
I
sites. And
used to
I
own
was,
some Catalent stock. I
oh
thought it
yeah,
was like a good way to, like a
yeah,
safe way to play the clinical research market.
yeah. The fully vested Catalent in San Diego. So we lived in San Diego, and it's funny when you're in New Jersey and you're looking for a place to live in a pinch from New Jersey in California. You said, "Oh, 20 miles. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all." Yeah, that was
You
so
might have
20.
found the only place more expensive than where you currently were.
Actually, it was reasonable. That's the thing. Should have
Uh,
known better, right? So it's like, this is pretty reasonable. 20 miles away. I could do that. Yeah, a 20-mile, 20
20
mile
mile out from
trip.
San Diego.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it
but
would have
over
been
there it's like hour, could be an hour commute or
well, it
longer.
was 3 hours total every day. If you get up really early and leave really late. That's 1 hour in and then 2 hours
Mm.
home.
Is this when you lived in Hakumba? The
Hamul.
oh Hamul.
Hamul. Yeah. Lived in Hamul,
Wow.
commuted 3 hours daily on, all of the highways and that was
This was
about
before work from home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And at that time, I had this huge truck, really, really big, inefficient truck, really a lot of gas every single day. But
I
looking
could see you
back,
as a pickup guy.
I big old Dodge Ram,
Oh
probably
my man, that's what I like too.
like 8 miles to the gallon,
Yep.
just
Yep.
big old truck, and it sucked the gas down. But we made it work. So
Yeah.
California had some really big challenges. That's when my daughter Violet got her diagnosis. That's when a lot of things happened. There was a point where she got her diagnosis. We realized Bree couldn't work, so I had to go get another job. I had to try to find more money to survive. So I left the job that I had at Catalent. I went to another job. I'm not going to say this job because it didn't work out very well, but um, they kept me on long. There it was a foreign job. They kept me on long enough to rewrite all of their SOPs in English, and then the day before probation, let me go and kept all of
The
my
day
work.
before, so they basically took you for the IP for
Yep.
free.
And then let me go when they did, then as on the very last minute.
So
So,
you left a safe like Catalent
mhm,
for someone who promised more money,
mhm.
I'm guessing, right? And they said, okay, probation period. So after probation period, we'll pay you more.
Yep.
And right before the day before,
Yep.
they said, peace out. So you, after you gave them all the value.
Yep. So they took everything from me, gave me what I call the invisible carrot, and then as soon as they could let me go at the very last minute, they did.
So how are you not jaded from all this stuff, man? Like, how are you not?
Part
Do
of
you
it,
consider yourself a realist, or are you still an optimist?
oh, very optimist, very optimist. But I guess you could call it a protective optimist.
Yeah,
It's like kind
I
of like you've
noticed
been
the
burned.
SOS. You're conservative. I'm like,
Hmm.
let's go, let's go. You're like, no, no, look, like, let's look at the budget. You're like
Yep.
Chris. You're like Chris.
Just we will do what we have with the resources we have. But putting
Yeah,
our necks out on the line, I mean, it's high risk, high reward. It could work, but why? Why risk it? I mean, the support's there. Just let the support build up and use what we have. Uh, so what happened is New Jersey was like the bottom out point, worst ever, lowest point ever.
wow,
And when I got into Catalent and I started looking for jobs, that's when I utilized my experience from that worst point ever and I weaved in my experience at Catalent into what you're seeing in that book.
right.
Um, so in that book, there's a lot of theories behind it, but it's comparative to a cowboy. Cowboys in the West, they traveled light, right? They kind of win. They did a job.
Resourceful.
They were very resourceful, and when that job was done, when the work was gone, they'd just pack up their horse and move on to the next ranch.
Did you ever regret leaving Catalent?
Sometimes I could have done well there. I don't think I don't think that I could have survived very well at Catalent with my family situation at the time.
I see. Just the pay. You
Yeah,
couldn't
you can't.
overcome
I
that.
mean, it's San Diego. One person working, you have to earn a little bit
Did
more
you
money
try to
than
have
that.
those conversations with HR? Like, hey,
Oh
look,
yeah,
like I really
yeah.
need.
I need
Were
to
they
do that,
trying to
and
work with you, or like?
nah, it was a more invisible carrot things. We'll do
Mhm,
what we can. We'll see what we can do, but there's a lot of
mm.
other politics behind that one. Um,
If you had
that
to do it over again, Dr. Fox, I know these are like tough to answer. Would you have gotten the PhD, or would you have gone
ooh,
like coordinator route?
if you would have asked me that 2 years after earning my PhD, I would have been jaded. Be like, this
Right.
thing's worthless. It's not getting me the job that I was hoping for. You had this feeling of entitlement. You're like, I worked hard, I sacrificed, I've been in poverty for most of my adult life. I deserve this salary. And looking back, now that I'm a little bit further along and I have the experience starting to gain up with the PhD, yeah, I'm glad I got it.
Long
It's a
term,
good
it's worth it. No,
long term
but
is worth it. Short term, you got to sacrifice a lot, and even when you feel like you've sacrificed enough, it's still not enough because you don't know what it takes to really get to that other point, that level.
so after this job that super shady, not Catalent, but the other one that you won't mention, shady, took your thoughts, took your knowledge, and let you go right at the last day.
Hmm.
What was next? Like you're in San Diego. Your wife must be like,
Yep.
"What the hell, man? What
Yep.
what are we doing?"
So number one is this is the coolest story is keep in mind we did this a couple times already. So I have a 3 hour commute home. And so then of course they do the token HR walk you out thing at the shady place. And I get in the truck, I just kind of rest my mind for a minute and I give Bree a call. And I said, okay, here we go. I lost my job. Let's do it.
Wow,
And it was like a switch, man. We were ready. It was, we had a backup budget. By the time I got home, she already had 10 job applications ready for me to apply for. We had a new budget that we were going to follow. It was like we were ready. We knew
wow,
exactly what to do and exactly how to do it. And it
wow.
was at that point in time, right there, where after that shady company let me go, I was like, you know what? I ran into something that could help people. My goal, what I want to do is I want to write a book where it's a short read. And if you get
Very
let
short,
go,
guys.
very short, the whole point is that's like your break glass book. Let's say someone walks you out on a Friday, you pick up that book, you read it, and you're back on track within a week.
In a
And
week.
That's the whole point. It helps you to rethink how the job cycle occurs in our society. It helps you to organize your thoughts and your applications to a point where you can just get up and go. And of course, Mr. Clinical Research in me, I broke it down into phases, just like clinical trials. You'll see, like, that's the whole point. Is the number one thing that everyone hates hearing when you're on the job hunt is, so how's the job hunt? How's the job search going? I hate that question because how are you going to answer it?
Mm,
I mean, there's no really good way to answer it unless you say, "Hey, I got a job." It's like it hurts. It hurts.
yeah, yeah.
So why not bin it? Why not dissociate yourself from the pain of not having a job and just turn it into a clinical trial? So put
Mm.
your job applications into phases, just like a clinical trial. So instead of saying, "Oh, I got this one with this company," and this, no, dissociate it. I submitted 10 phase ones this week. I've got a phase two, and then next week I've got
Wow.
a phase three.
Did you like
Bam.
split test your resume? Like, here's this version, here's this
Oh
version.
yeah, yeah. Many different resume types depending on the resume, depending on the job you're going to search for. And I collected metrics, of course. Again, the scientist in me. So we talked about this at the podcast, but over the course of 18 months, and keep in mind, do the math there, 18 months. I started this experiment when I was at Catalan.
I see.
Over the course of 18 months, I applied to almost 400 jobs. And I started doing it not to get the job, but just to analyze the job process, the cycle. What are these people going to talk to me about? What questions are they going to ask me? What's their timeline? When do
Were
they
you
respond to me?
were you LinkedIn stalking yet or no?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
didn't really touch LinkedIn until I was later
Yeah,
on.
you were not on my radar till like
No,
2021
no,
on LinkedIn.
but I was straight up. I wouldn't say I was trolling the HR people, but I was definitely keeping tabs on them. And
How? Like
the
through email or phone or how?
just tracking their behaviors. It's kind of like pre-packed scores, right? But like if I got a request for a job interview, that's when it started. How long does it take them to respond to me? When do they do all of this? But importantly is if you can take the personal part out of the job search and you can turn it into something far greater, you're going to be more successful. Because kind of like in the Career Cowboy book, you don't take it personally. It's it's
A
work.
lot of people do that. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people take it personally
They
and
do.
say when a rejection is normal, guys. I tell people all the time. I make these videos. If I were to apply right now, everyone thinks like I'm on this high level, like, oh, he can get any job he wants. It's not true.
That's
It's
the
not
biggest
true.
fear. That's my biggest fear. What if I have to go look for a job? People are gonna be finding me all over LinkedIn. It's
No,
gonna
but
take a very,
let's
yeah.
assume we live in a vacuum just with my 18 years of experience. Like,
Mm-hmm.
forget YouTube and just I'm not known. I can apply to 10 jobs. Probably 7 will ignore me. I might get 3 interviews. So what do you do? Like, if you have less experience than that, why are you going to be so hard on yourself when you're getting rejections? If even people at the most experienced level are getting over 50% rejection rates. It doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that company saw someone else. It's nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
But people get hung up on that, and then they're like, I applied to 10 jobs. I didn't hear back from any. I'm done. I quit.
Well, okay. There's one thing that you cannot control in this cycle. Uh,
Mm,
that you cannot control who else is applying for that job. That's out of your
that's right.
control.
That's right.
Which means that if you didn't get the job, it didn't happen. Someone else got it because they were better than you. Then
Right.
get better.
Right.
So it's there, and the statistics are very spot on. Odds are, if you didn't hear from something, if you didn't hear about a job in 2 weeks, you're not it. So
Hmm.
stop lingering.
Same
Go to the
thing as the
next one.
timing. I can't tell you how many times in my career as somebody interviewing coordinators, I
Mm-hmm.
just hired someone, and a week or two later, a very good candidate applies. But I got to be loyal to who I already hired.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? Timing was terrible. You're a great I would hire you, but I can't. I already hired. I spent my budget. try again in like 3 months, 6 months. But
Yep,
I know you would get a job quicker than that. So good luck. You know, timing, guys. It doesn't. Why would anyone take that personally? But people do.
they do very much so. And I think looking back at New Jersey, we are raised to a point where we have this sense of expectation or entitlement from employers.
Mm,
It's your job to pay me and to give me benefits, and it's I am allowed to depend on you. And I think that we as a society have this really weird notion that what do? You go through school, you grow up, you get a job, you work for someone, and they pay you and they take care of you. And it's you've seen this dissolve and degrade very rapidly, especially since COVID, but it's happened since the 80s. I had an uncle who worked for Chrysler. He worked for Chrysler for 30 years. 6 months before he was going to retire, they let him go and took his pension. So, and that happened in the 90s. But, ever since the 80s, there's always been this whole, I mean, and you've heard it from so many people. I've worked for this company for 30
yeah,
years.
tenure.
They owe me. No, they don't. They gave you a paycheck
That's
every
right.
2 weeks, like clockwork. You got paid for the work you did. They owe you nothing.
They owe you
This is
nothing.
an at will nation. And kind of like you'll read in the book, it says, we as an industry, it's kind of like looking at your employer and saying, you know what? It's your choice to employ me. And it's also my choice to work for you. And
Yeah,
it's well within both of our rights where if something doesn't work out, we move on and we go to the next thing. And that's okay. It's kind of like a level of acceptance to what's actually happening in the world. And it's another way of kind of breaking that whole notion of, you know, employer, job, they owe me for what I do for them. That's just really weird. Like it just doesn't happen like that. And
and
nobody's talking about it.
if this next decade going forward as technology is advancing, it's gonna be quicker, guys.
I'm
It's gonna
telling
be
you,
quicker. You got it. Like entitlement doesn't work
nope,
anymore. That's not a
nope.
strategy.
So be treat yourself like a career cowboy. Don't be afraid to move around.
Cora
Don't be
says
afraid.
she's loving the
True
treating this like a
scientist.
scientist. It's the first time I heard that too. Like
Yeah.
making this like your own clinical trial.
Yep.
So okay, we're at like kind of still at the low point. You just
Mm-hmm.
they walked you out. This shady company walked you out with a box,
Yep.
making sure you don't steal anything, which is ironic because they stole your knowledge basically.
Yep. Pretty much. They just
So
protect their interests.
your wife seems like super supportive, has 10 jobs ready for you when you get home, got a budget figured out. So what's next now? What, like you said, 18 months between Catalan and the next one?
No, it was an 18-month journey to collect data. So
Okay,
that
okay,
was through Catalan. No,
okay.
so then what happened was by then we knew what to do. And so we knew how to organize the jobs. We knew how to do everything. And that's when the book content started being created, when I actually knew what to do.
I
And that's
see.
when I thought, you know what? I need to write this down. I wonder if this can help people because what I'm going through right now, I'll bet you that everything that I went through from New Jersey and through all these jobs, I mean, this is advice that could really get people on track. How many people do you know who've been let go of a job and have just been completely derailed for the rest of their life?
Hmm.
It happens. So the sooner you get back on track, the more productive you can become in your career. So to have that organization is very helpful.
So the moral of the book, basically, from what I'm hearing, is don't give up. Like, be persistent. Figure out ways to trick
Hmm.
your mind into just being persistent and keeping you going.
Yep. I actually I haven't created it yet, but one of the funny ideas we had was I wanted to create a piece of wall art that would convert into a box,
You told me
the
this,
the
yeah.
bug out box.
Hmm.
Put your bug out box, hang that up in your office, and you look at that every day, and you're like, yeah, I've got an out. I know that if anything ever happened, it's right there. I'll just grab the box and I'll walk out and I'll be okay.
You can even
And you
use
have to
this if
be
you're self-employed, guys. You have business
yeah,
partners that tell you, "Hey, we gotta
do it.
take a hike."
Yep, do it. You have to be able to adapt. The moral of the story: one, stop depending on your employers. They
Mm.
owe you nothing, and you owe them nothing, and that's okay. That's how the world's going. And if you're going to do that, you better be prepared to take care of yourself in a number of ways. And that's the book talks about that. Not only
So
how to organize your job application, but also what to do when you have a job and how to be ready for it.
so what was next like for you? And did you ever like spam people like, hey, hire me, hire me, hire me, hire? Was that like your strategy?
By then I was more focused on the metrics.
Hmm.
I got to the point where I would ask, and oh, you're gonna love this. So let's see, they walked me out in September. So September, so then another really bad fall, right? We
Hmm.
were all strapped, we're doing all this stuff, but we knew what we were doing. I remember the weekend of Thanksgiving of that fall. I was asked to fly 4 times to an interview
Wow.
within a 2 week period. 4 times. And
Wow.
by then we knew we wanted to get closer to the Midwest. But by Thanksgiving, 4 times. By the first week of December, I had 4 job offers I had to choose from. Four. I mean, it was
All in
it.
the Midwest or
Yep, yep. Yes. So obviously, we're here in Illinois. So I had an offer in Illinois. I had an offer in Missouri, in Texas, and in South Carolina.
do you think that's a combination of your experience you started adding up and your resiliency, or which one like do you think weighed more on?
The experience helped. I think what it was the organization of applications, which allowed me to efficiently and effectively apply for jobs.
Mhm.
And that's the key is and that's when I started honing in on the resumes and understanding things and I looked for mentors. I asked them, "Hey, what can I see your resume? Can you show me your resume?" The people I wanted to be like.
How'd you find these people? LinkedIn?
A lot of them through my work at that point. I
So
had
you
a
weren't using
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn yet, like heavy, like you are now.
No,
No wonder I didn't know you till like 2021.
I think in 2019 I had 99 LinkedIn followers. I had 99. And I had 99 LinkedIn followers for like 4 or 5 years.
Now you're in the thousands.
I just hit over 2,500. So
Congrats, man.
2,560, I think. Yeah,
Really
so
quick too.
it's getting there. I mean, it's not 30,000, but
So
it's only.
you took is that what I'm at?
I
I
think
don't
you're
know
at
where I'm at.
28. You're at 28.
Wow.
Brad's at like 21.
I know my YouTube numbers. I don't know LinkedIn. YouTube I'm
I'll have
almost
to.
at 30. I'm at 29K. I watched YouTube.
Yeah. Anyone
LinkedIn
out
I
there
have no
listening?
clue.
Could you do a quick
Yeah, it looks
lookup?
like
How
on
many
my profile. I
followers does
actually
Dane
don't know
have?
right now. Okay, so the Midwest you had 4 and which one you chose site one, I'm guessing.
We chose the one that was in the hometown because of our family situation.
And that then you became what, a coordinator, a site director, what was it?
I was a site director.
From day one.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
these people was it a big organization, small business,
It was a middle-sized physician private practice.
and they were looking for someone like you. Hey, we need a leader.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
tired of managing this clinic.
It was well, and here's the funny thing, and you want to talk about. I don't know how this works out, but the job for what I took in Illinois was posted the same exact day that I lost my job in San Diego,
Wow,
September
wow,
September 15th, I think. So it was kind of like a weird fate thing. Like, dude, I literally
wow,
just quit my job, and the same exact job was posted the day I quit.
wow.
It was weird.
Was it so within September? So you said Thanksgiving. So December, you got this new job.
Mhm.
You were
Yep,
starting.
got the job. Started, I think, early January.
Okay.
No, my first day was December 31st.
Happy New Year.
So happy New Year, everyone! Let's go back to Illinois.
So
So,
running the site, you've done that until recently, right?
well, I ran the site for about 4 years.
So that was your most
Uh,
stable job you've
Yep.
had. So
Most stable job. Did okay. But again, I was on the Catalan side. I was on the startup side. I was on the sponsor side.
you're
I knew
on
how
all
things
the
were
sites.
supposed to go. And then I'm at the site and I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
And that's
And
when all the ideas that now are manifesting with SOS, with CRPN,
yep,
with
it
Land of
all came to
Lincoln.
fruition. It all came together. Once I started, and that's when I started LinkedIn. I started seeing the other people. I'm like, I'm not the only one. This isn't just an Illinois thing. This is like an industry thing. And I really had to start thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I have this combination of experiences that could help to raise this industry up, help these sites, not just my site, but when you help every site, you're literally helping every patient
Do you
because you're
think you're
giving them hope.
better? You're young, so it's hard to answer, and you're just like me, work in progress. We all are works in progress. Do you think you're a better entrepreneur or a better employee?
Bree tells me, and she's here. We have an office now together, but Bree
Nice.
tells me that I will only be happy if I work for myself.
Mm.
So I think that the entrepreneur way that's why I was telling you I'm scared to death. If something doesn't work and I have to look for a job, I'm scared to death because it's going to
Does
be really
SOS make you nervous?
yeah
No.
no
You're
because
confident.
I like how I really like the and I think I posted something like that today, but I really like how the people who have founded SOS are not like investors. They're truly passionate about the industry. Like
Yeah, and
PE,
like
we're not
making money
PE.
is like literally an afterthought for us.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah,
just want
it's
this to take off.
we're like right now it's just I want to have enough money to pay the bills.
Yeah,
And if and honestly, if any money comes to me as a result of SOS, guess where it's going?
right back into it.
Right back into CRPN, right back into Atlanta Lincoln. It's not like
Mhm.
I'm filling my pockets. I'm literally reinvesting in my community.
Are you worried that so after the 4 year stable job, right? And I knew you at this point when you were still working, and I knew you towards the end of this now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know kind of what you were thinking, but do you want to get into like why you decided to leave, or is too soon for that to discuss?
I was put into an ethical situation with a superpower PI who pretty much ran the company. Um, and I found that if this PI was ever found legally to do this, then it would be me on the hook because I was the director and there's nothing I could do about it. So I had to make a very ethical choice that was painful financially. We were not ready for this, but
So you needed to leave this job like you needed a hole in your head at
yeah,
this point.
it's not like I just woke up one day and said, "Screw this, I'm out. I don't need you." Yeah, I still needed them, but
Yeah.
this is the time where I was sleep driving. I was so stressed. I was
You
sleep
told me about
driving.
that.
I was getting a lot of health problems as a result. I'm just like, this isn't worth it. And if this goes to the where I think it's going to go, it's really not going to be worth it.
So what was it? Because this was pre Save Our Sites. SOS, Us Fly Girl, SOS is Save Our Sites conference. Check it out. SOS is a movement. It's not just a conference; it's a
Yeah.
movement. But it's starting with a conference.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that gave you the confidence to say, you know what? It's never gonna be the perfect time for me to like go all in, but I might as well do it now. Was it CRPN? Was it Land of Lincoln? Was it SOS? Or we haven't really decided SOS yet, right? So it must have been either CRPN or
Well,
Land of Lincoln at this point.
so CRPN, Land of Lincoln was like fresh, super fresh. Like
Yeah.
I was writing the SOP
That's probably
manual.
the riskiest one too, because I
It
know what
is.
it's like to start a
It
site. It's
is.
like
It's
not
gonna
easy
take the
money.
longest.
Yep.
CRPN, we had like one regular person asking us for help. I mean, the network itself was growing. We were starting to connect sites to opportunities, but it wasn't there. I admittedly it was a really nasty meeting with this really nasty doctor. And just this switch that flipped that said, you have to have faith. You have to know that you're doing the right thing here. I
Was he
wouldn't
there the
even
whole time you were there, or was he new?
yeah, yeah, he
No,
was
he
he
was
was
there.
there. Yeah, he's trying to do things that I don't know if it's I know it's not going to be right, but I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But it hurt. It hurt everyone. There's still fear even now. I mean, there's still fear. It's still very young, but
Simultaneously,
be okay.
because I'm trying to like I told you when I first met you, man, you came out of nowhere on my feed. Like
Yeah,
I first saw you on Brad's note to file, and I'm like, all right, well, Brad gets like random people on all the time, so all right. and then you were on someone else, and then you were on someone, and I kept hearing your name, Fox, 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 Fox. People were telling me, "Hey, you gotta like talk to Dr. Fox." I'm like, "Okay, who is this guy?"
Hmm.
And then I talked to you, and you were like really cool, man. You had a really interesting story. A lot. There's a lot to your story than just what we're talking today. We did a full podcast on the more personal things in your
Hmm.
life. Is this when you were like making a conscious effort? Let me like get all in on LinkedIn because it's important.
I think somehow the algorithm, I call him algorithm Bob, he recommended I listen to Note to File podcast. And I was
Okay.
trying to explore certain things. Once I heard Note to File, that's what did it. Note to File was like the gateway podcast. So it was like this rabbit hole. And then I started seeing what Brad was doing. And then I started seeing who commented on Brad's comments. And I started following those people. And before you know it, I get into the rabbit hole with everyone else in the industry. So that's I do the trigger, and it hasn't been long ago chronologically, but it feels like it's been so long ago.
It feels like so long. I actually remember now. You reached out to me. I didn't really know who you were. I
Be
just
part of
heard
my
your name.
Christmas song, right?
Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know if I want to sing, man. What is this guy asking me to do? I don't even know him. And then I said, no, sorry, man. Like, but maybe like we'll do an interview or something because
Hmm.
people keep recommending you, but I don't know what you're gonna do with my song. I have no idea what you're gonna put together. And then I did it after I interviewed you. I did. I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. He's not gonna do anything bad.
No,
So
but just
I
put it into perspective. That would have been September or October of
21,
2022,
21.
last year. No, the Christmas song
I've
was
only
last year.
known you for.
That's what I'm saying. Is that's how rapidly it moved.
I've only known you like 9 months. Not even nine
Seriously.
monthis.
Yeah.
That's
That's
crazy, man. I feel like you're like a good friend, and even though I never met you.
so
Wow.
this is an interesting analogy to the book. I find the faster things move, the better off you're going to be. And it's just like that. It's like when something works out, I mean, you go all in,
Mhm.
you focus on it 100%, and every minute that you spend on it is going to feel like so much more impact. And just like now that I'm starting to put the numbers to it, it's like, wow, I mean, it's amazing how much has exploded since
I
last
was like, it's at least
September.
been like a year and a half.
Nope, because the Christmas song, it was last year.
Dude, when you're doing this stuff, a week ago seems like 3 months ago. Man, I
Yeah.
can't remember the videos I did a week ago.
Mhm.
Honestly, I can't.
How long does it take you to find like one of your memes you did 6 months ago?
Oh,
I did a meme on that. I actually started a
man.
folder of memes because I was tired of looking for them.
I'm not that organized. I batch memes on my iPhone, and then I have so much stuff in my camera reel. I'm like things get lost.
Yeah,
I'll find something like 6 months ago, and I get bored. I just go through my camera reel. I'm like, oh, I never posted that one. Let me do that one. That's
but
crazy. It's only
what it ended up being was and you'll see if you buy it on Amazon, I made it as cheap as possible. I'm not even in it for money anymore. It's literally just okay, you get
is it Kindle?
fired.
Did you make a Kindle?
Yep, it's on Kindle.
Okay.
Yep, it's on by the
I
Kindle.
just got the new Kindle reader. It's really cool. The Scribe. Live like a
So
career cowboy, how to successfully navigate the great professional frontier.
we'll have to. They're asking for a link. I don't have it
Can you
on me.
post the link to
I will.
Amazon? Ruth, Dr. Fox will, but this is just search this. Live like a career cowboy, you'll find it.
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
there.
And then people said they already bought it. So yeah,
I,
we sold at least one book during this live.
hey, so to anyone who bought the book, it means a lot to me. Buy it for yourself.
Yeah.
Again, don't buy it for me. I'm not gonna make a whole lot of money on it, but that's my contribution to society. I don't want you to feel like you're alone. And people have gone through it before, and hopefully it can help you.
Thank you, Dr. Fox.
No problem, Dan.
I know you got a jam, so I'll let you go, but I appreciate you coming on. I think it's important to hear because people see you now, like new people following you. They're like, oh, this dude's successful, but it's important to hear the origin story. And
Hmm.
it's far from a straight path to success, man. I mean, to say the least, personal things aside, just your career,
Hmm.
insane, tumultuous, rocky.
So I I love this, but a lot of people say I just don't have enough time to listen to all of the content out there. And they say that as a result of me asking them if they've heard the podcast, my podcast. So
Yeah.
you people don't like the podcast because there's no video to it, but there's a reason for that. Especially because I have an audiology background, I really believe in like when you listen and only listen to things, it helps you to focus on the words more.
Mm.
How do you feel about the podcast?
I love your podcast, man. I was gonna tell you yesterday. Like I listened to yours in the shower. So I'm
Okay.
finishing up. I have a loudspeaker in my bathroom, so I just like put on podcast when I shower,
Mm-hmm.
morning and night. And I'm listening to your one with eSource. So I'm
That's a
finishing that
good
up.
one.
Yep,
That's a good one.
I heard the PI talk. Forgot her name. I'm sorry.
Dr. Gunn.
Amazing.
Yep.
And then I hear Raymond, my boy Raymond. So
Mm-hmm.
we're like wrapping up his part. I like how you, as someone who does podcast and does not edit, like
Mm-hmm.
I edit nothing, man. Unless someone like just screws up in the interview, I don't edit. Or if I screw up, your edits, like you take out every space, like this space right here where no one says anything for a second.
It's gone.
Fox takes it out, and
Yep.
those are things people don't hear unless they know what a podcast is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know because I have mine, and I don't take those out. I kind of, for me, I kind of like the silence. Sometimes it's like conveys a
Yep.
message too. But in your case, it's like you're very respectful of people's time. Boom, 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 boom. You're not gonna like mess around. And the way you set it up, which there's no way I would ever do this because it takes way too much organization and work. But you've got one perspective, you've got another perspective on the same topic so that you, the listener, can judge, okay, I'm hearing two different people talk about the same thing. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't, and you have nothing to do with the outcomes. Like it's all wild, natural. And the listener can decide, hey, yeah, you know what? I agree
Mm-hmm.
with this, or I like what this person said about this same topic. It was good that you had two people on because I would have never considered that perspective. Your
Mm-hmm.
podcast is unique, man. I was gonna text you yesterday. I just didn't know that I was in the shower, but if we could voice text from the shower, it would have been great.
Like, dude, it was designed to be a scientific experiment. Every podcast, a
I love
social
it, man.
experiment,
I
and it's
love it.
working. It's doing okay.
Yours and
So
Brad's. I
Brad's is
was
awesome
even
too.
thinking, man. I was thinking this, and I was gonna tell Robert Goldman maybe this is his cross to carry, but sites are pretty well represented now with you, me, Brad. I don't know who else is doing from sites. These are
Yep.
the three I know. What about sponsor and CRO? I haven't heard. Have you a CRO podcast? Like a version
Um,
of us of a CRO?
no, I don't think
You
they're
know, I take
allowed.
it back. There is one. Ketawaba. I just haven't listened. They're like a
Okay.
mid-sized derm specialized. Um, Shout out to them. I actually had a study with them. We didn't do that well on them. Not my fault, guys. By the way, like my bad. But their podcast, I gotta give them props. They have a good podcast. So more, but more like them, you know. And then
Mhm.
from a sponsor level too.
I have. It's no secret now, but Dan Otap from Gen and Tech will be on CRP and Central in the next episode.
Right, but like,
But
where's Gin and Tech Pod? Where's like
see, I wonder if they
Amgen
have a
Pod?
lot of corporate red tape they'd have to go through to get that
Okay,
done.
but like a smaller then, like a smaller biotech. Like where's Lineage Cell
Yeah,
Therapeutics Pod? You
we
know,
should
their
do that.
CEO.
Bring them in.
I
Have
got LCTX founder CEO next week on, but he won't do his own pod. I mean,
yeah,
he's too busy, but he can hire someone to do a pod for them.
yeah.
So I
We
don't understand why sponsors haven't jumped on this. Like small sponsors, I get why the big ones haven't, but the
yeah,
smaller ones got less to lose. I mean, there's more upside to gaining awareness on your company than to lose. Like when you're Eli Lilly, I get it. You're gonna have a safe podcast.
mm-hmm.
Like let's all be friends, guys. Let's
Yeah.
kumbaya.
Can't let go of IP. You don't want to give away secrets and all that stuff.
Well, someone like Lilly or Pfizer, I mean, they would make podcasts like collaboration is key. Here we have a guest on about collaborating. Even that would be good, but they don't they don't do that stuff. You know?
Yeah.
But like the
But
smaller biotech, I feel they can make more interesting stuff that
they
we
can
would
do it,
actually
man.
want to listen to.
And I'd listen to it because I want to know more about the sponsors. I want to know how to help them.
Yeah. Like yours, I have a long day after work. I just went to the site all day, put out a bunch of fires, went to shoot my own pod, went to shoot one with my sub eye, Dr. Joe Show. I love that guy. And then I came home. You would think the last thing I want to do is listen to clinical research stuff. What do I do in the shower? Turn on yours.
Listen to a pod.
Because I want to.
Mm-hmm.
But if yours was boring, I wouldn't. So there's something
Yeah.
about putting yourself out there that makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be safe cliche. No one's gonna listen to that.
Good
Anyways,
work.
I don't think anyone cares about the
No
podcast.
worries. Importantly, Dan, thank you for asking me about the book. It was definitely a labor of love, and I really hope it can help people.
Yeah, man. Everyone go get it. Follow Dr. Fox. I'll have the link to his LinkedIn underneath. Or maybe you want me to link to the book underneath instead
Sure.
this time?
Yeah,
So
that's
I'll have
fine.
the link to the book underneath and in the show notes. Live like a career cowboy for those listening. How to successfully navigate the great professional frontier. Link in the show notes. Thank you, Dr. Fox.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.